Hello, hello, hello. The sun is so bright. Ooh, look. Cool. Okay. The sun is so bright. But here we are. And we are shuffling from the Gods and Titans deck, which you may have heard of. It has a companion deck that is the Goddesses and Sirens deck. So right now I'm just shuffling with no true intent of what to pull out. We may just pull out a card of a god and discuss what it means in the deck and ramble about him, or we may give a reading. Who knows? Let's see. This may be the live where the cards just fall out and I cry because it calls me out. Who knows? Let's see. But this light is kind of fun though. Okay, let's see. You guys know I like to give them a good shuffle, like a good strong shuffle. Let's see. Let me just make sure that my phone is on silent. Let's see. Okay. All right. Okay. I think we're good. So let's begin. Oh, before I pull this first card, do remember that you can book a reading with me over on facebook.com/TheNerdyWarlock. You can also DM me on Instagram for that, if that is your prerogative. But if you go to my Facebook page, there you can see under the services tab the different readings that I offer. I offer oracle readings, rune readings, tarot readings, and Ogum readings. If you do not know what Ogum is, there is a video here on my YouTube channel explaining what Ogum is. Also on my services tab, there is a section for you to select, whether you would want a live reading with me like this, one-on-one, or if you would like me to just do the reading on my own and then send you the information. Either way, you will always get a written report with photographs of the reading from me in both readings. Should you choose a oracle reading, you get to pick the deck that you want from 6 decks that I have, that being the Gods and Titans deck, the Goddesses and Sirens deck, the I Ching deck, the Goddess Guidance deck, the Wisdom of Avalon deck, and the Angel Therapy deck. So there's many choices for you there. There's a photograph of them on the Facebook page, because I know that's a lot. But feel free to message me there. We can talk there about what you want, what you expect from the reading, if you even have a question for the reading. Sometimes you don't have a question for the reading, and that's perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. Nothing wrong with that. You can always do a general reading. I love doing general readings. Also, I would encourage you to remember that readings can be enjoyed by anyone of any religious path or lack thereof. I have given readings to Christians, both Protestant and Catholic. I have given readings to atheists and agnostics, and all enjoyed the readings and found worth of them. So do not feel like it has to conflict with any views that you may have religiously or spiritually going into the reading. I will contact spirits of any kind for you that you wish. If you wish for me to call on angels, I will call on angels. If you wish for me to only try to speak with God or Jesus, I will do that for you. If you want me to invoke any manner of pagan spirits, of course we will do that. Honestly, I will call on anything for you. I have called on people's grandparents. We'll do it all. So I highly suggest you go check out facebook.com/thenerdywar. Now let's pull a card. I'm going to shuffle again. You know, I'm an obsessive shuffler. I wonder what that means psychologically. You know? Let's see. Beauty. Inventiveness. And confidence. Oh, wow. Okay. This is surprisingly a positive reading. Surprisingly positive. And I say that because I have kind of a reputation for always incorporating shadow and shadow work, dark energy into every reading I do. But here we are. So Achilles, Vulcan, and Biome. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I'm not super great at any sort of like indigenous, Aztec, Polynesian. Like, I'm not strong in those mythologies. Those are like my weak areas in terms of pronunciation. Because I do focus so much on European mythology. So what sticks out to me here is Vulcan, but Achilles. We'll start with Achilles. So Achilles. Confidence in this deck. I wouldn't necessarily put him just with confidence. I don't know about you, but I would say that Achilles is more about like overconfidence. Because, you know, if we remember his story, look, I'm just going to blind everyone on this today. But if we remember his story, that Achilles, you know, we have our own heel. It's called the Achilles heel. That is his only weak point, right? And that is where he went, where he would go into battle and he didn't protect that one part of his body because he was so brazen. He thought, no one's going to get me here. No one's going to get me here. But they did. So I think that a tip from Achilles is double-sided. Yes, you could say that he gives you confidence, like channel his energy. Remember to be confident in all things that you do. But beware overconfidence, which leads to arrogance. And nobody likes that. Nobody likes that. Arrogance is not a great quality to have. That's just how you're going to drive people away. You may attract some people very quickly with arrogance, but they will not stay. These will be superficial, use you up and leave you type of people. Vulcan. This is interesting art for Vulcan. Very interesting art for Vulcan. Interesting. He is super young here, which is odd. I don't see him as that way. But with Vulcan or Hephaestus, we do get inventiveness, we get creativity, we get commitment. I think that's things that a lot of us can struggle with. It's so easy to start a project, but it can be very difficult to follow through with a project and see it to its end, especially if we're not seeing what we want as the project begins. Like, we want immediate success, usually immediate return on a creation that we give. And that's just not the way it goes. Sometimes, and that's awesome. So you should appreciate it when it happens. But I'm going to say like 9.8 times out of 10, it's not going to be like that. You're going to throw your gifts out into the world, and it's just going to be what it is sometimes. It's going to take time for people to find it and to appreciate it. Although that should not deter you from putting it out there. And again, that comes with a little bit of the confidence from Achilles. Know your worth. Know what you're giving is something special, and give it out there anyway, with, like I said, without the expectation of return, especially on your timetable, because that's just not how the universe works. Things do not come in on your timetable. They just don't. They do not do that. Also, I feel like this is very a very a very metaphysical shot. Feel like isn't that's wild. Anywho, let's pull another card and let's see what happens. Oh, Eros. You may know him also as Cupid. Also, my cats are literally trying to climb a wall. So there's that. But Eros is love, of course. And with Eros, I shudder to almost say this, but I do see him with like sensual love more so than just like lustful love. However, I know that there is a vast difference between him and Cupid, and Eros might be the lustful one, much as there's a huge difference between Venus and Aphrodite. So let's just go take a look right now. Let's see. We're just gonna Google it as we speak. Okay, so yeah, so I was flipped around. Okay, so Eros is the god of lust and of like sexual love. So that's wonderful and that's fabulous. I think it's interesting that he's portrayed as like an angel here, but as like a very S&M looking angel. So that's neat. That's cute. Interesting. If this were to come out in a reading for someone, like if we just pulled a card, like one single card, and you pulled Eros, depending on factors such as your own personal energy and aura that I see and feel, my baseline answer for Eros would be that you were at a place where you are not channeling enough Erosian energy, and that you need to get jiggy with it, even if it's by yourself. Yeah. Let's just flip through a few more cards and look at these because the illustrations are so interesting. I'm just killing time right now until a friend comes over. So we have no agenda in this live, which is why it's going to be all over the place and not structured. So we have Apollo looking very warlike here. I see Apollo as someone who is more of a pacifist and not masculine. I do see him usually with long hair and like sun-kissed skin, not super tan, but not pale either. It's occasionally I see him with like pointed ears, but someone who I think has, as I just described, has been like probably washed, like watered down over the centuries. He's not someone who I feel like we have a strong grasp of who he was anymore. I feel like he's become like a specific type of deity, which is like almost like the snobby boy, which is so like disappointing and like kind of makes me sad. I do think it's interesting. I read somewhere once in a book, I think actually it was in a Latin textbook, that there was kind of this war between people who worshipped Dionysus and people who worshipped Apollo. And when I say war, I mean like a verbal, like a societal spat. Because it was kind of like Apollo was known for like the rich, snooty kids all worshipped Apollo and their families worked with Apollo and worshipped him. And then like the poor kids who were like rough, trashy, those kids whose families were probably like had, you know, like their father or something was the town drunk, that kind of vibe. Those kids always worshipped Dionysus, or those were like Dionysian kids, and that the rich snobby kids were the Apollonian kids. I think that's hilarious. Like really funny. Hades, we're getting a lot of Greco-Roman gods. Hades also has interesting artwork in this. He looks like Skeletor from He-Man, Masters of the Universe, if you're familiar with that. Particularly with that staff. Cerberus is in this picture as well, but only with 2 heads, not 3. And I'm pretty sure there's not a 2-headed dog in Greco-Roman mythology. If there is, correct me, but I think that's weird too. He looks like Skeletor. Like he looks like Skeletor from Masters of the Universe, He-Man. Hades, I feel like gets such a bad rap. Like, such a bad rap. Like, first of all, he didn't pick to be the god of the underworld. He was forced because his brothers grabbed onto, like, the sky and sea before he could. We don't, in mythology, he's seen as, like, you know, a dark god, but he's definitely not an evil god. I think it's not until Christianity that we start equating him with the devil, and we start equating the underworld with the devil. So if we were going to be historical, this picture is really inaccurate. Like, really inaccurate, because he is not he's not Satan. Like, he's not Satan. It's really weird. In my workings with Hades, he has a sense of humor. He is a little lighthearted, actually. He's not like this depressed Eeyore or satanic figure. However, if you work with him in that way, that's perfectly fine. As always, by the way, if you're watching, you can request a card pull, and I will do a card pull for you right now. Just to give you a sample of what it's like to get a reading with me. So if you want a card pull, just post it in the chat. But let's pull another card and see what comes out. Again, we're pulling from the Gods and Titans deck, which is an awesome deck. And as I said before, there is a female version of this deck called the Goddesses and Sirens. And yes, the sun is blinding me and like covering half my body. So let's see. Oh, Maui. Okay. So Maui is a Polynesian deity. We get him from Moana. If you've seen the Disney movie Moana, then you know Maui. He was portrayed by Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. He did not look like this in the movie. Maui is interesting because it's like, if we're going to equate him with other cultures, he is like Hercules, but he's also kind of like Odin. And then he's also kind of like Dionysus. Like, he's all over the place. Like, he gave the Polynesian people so many gifts, right? Like the wind, fire, and all that. But then, like, it's like so much more than that. Like, like I said, he's like a contradictory character. Because as I said before, he's like Odin in that he's a traveler and he travels all over, and he's like got this like yearning for knowledge where he's just like amassing as much as he can and sharing it. But then he is also like Hercules in the sense that like he's constantly fighting off monsters to protect the Polynesian people and the oceanic people. He performs all these deeds. He has like immense strength. It's just interesting. He is very contradictory. But if we were going to mix Odin and Hercules and like Dionysus, because he is about a bit of a party boy too, all into one being, I mean, come on. That's like a phenomenal deity right there. So Maui, from a pantheon that is totally ignored in modern paganism, which is a shame. I actually just bought a book today on Polynesian myths. Cannot wait to dig into it. We're going to pull just a couple more. Let's see. Oh, Ganesha. Who doesn't love Ganesha? I wish they had given him more flattering artwork in this. Alas, they did not. But, you know, we get what we get with Oracle decks. Ganesha. Also sometimes just called Ganesh. I love Ganesha. Who doesn't love Ganesha? I mean, honestly, I think if you've not looked into Ganesha, you should. But you probably are familiar with Ganesha. He is like a massively popular deity. Who doesn't love Ganesha? His whole vibe is that he's like so warm, inviting, neighborly, friendly, all loving and compassionate. Like, he's phenomenal deity. He's so chill. Like, you can just come in and out of working with him, and he does not hold grudges. He does not hold it against you. Like, he's not petty at all. I have a small altar for him that you can almost see. It's on this top shelf right here. But you can't see it. But I have him up there with little candles and some incense, some stones, jewelry. Ganesha is an amazing deity. Amazing deity. But yes, he's a remover of obstacles. And what's also cool is he kind of like birthed himself. He came out of a goddess, but like he kind of helped birth himself. It's really cool. Fascinating actually. But Ganesha is so cool. I was introduced to him a long, long time ago. Besides my own reading, I really came to love him by meeting someone who was from India, and they talked about how like cab drivers there would put pictures of him in their cab to help remove the obstacles on the road so that they could get safely from like place to place. So that's charming. But yeah, Ganesha's amazing. Amazing. Let's see. We're gonna pull one more from the gods deck, and then we might switch decks. I'm not sure. Oh, hey Courtney, what's up? We might switch decks. I'm not sure. Oh, Hypnos. Fun artwork. Again, we're like pulling all these Greco-Roman gods today. But Hypnos, looking very owl-ish in this, which is wild. God of sleep. So you might just say that that's it, right? Like, what else can we say about him? God of sleep. Done. But isn't that bizarre that there is a deity devoted just to sleep? Like, just to sleep. Just to our unconsciousness. So by extension, wouldn't he also be a deity of like astral projection, of dreams, of the unknown, of the subconscious mind, of psychic power, of ESP, intuition? Wouldn't he be extension, by that, a god of all of that? Fascinating. Hypnos, from what I have read, isn't like particularly, he wasn't particularly worshipped like as like a god like all the other gods. I'm not even sure if he probably had his own cult. He may have. I don't even think he probably had a shrine erected to him. I may be wrong. Maybe like blaringly wrong, which makes me want to go research it now. But yes, Hypnos, god of sleep. How interesting. Talk about a mystery tradition. I bet working with him is so like wild. I'm actually going to leave this card out because now I am totally sold on researching Hypnos and learning about him and working with him. Like, I'm going to call on him now. He might not answer the phone, but but I'm going to call on him. Wow. Okay, Hypnos. Okay, cool. Can't wait for that. Although I will say I have seen Hypnos used in like the like neo raves of like in the early 2000s, late zeros. There was one person in particular that I knew who went by the name Electra, and she was a cyber pagan all on the internet and everything. And she worked with what is his name? Morpheus, thank you. Yes, Morpheus and Hypnos in tandem, and worked with them as like digital deities, gods of the internet, which is interesting. I don't know how you would parlay a sleep deity into the internet, but I'd be intrigued to hear how. I know that Bride or Bridget is considered a goddess of computers now, which is like wild. Techno-paganism, cyber-paganism, digital witchcraft is wild. It's wild. Okay, let's see. Let's pull another. Oh, Anubis. Anubis, yes. Again, a god that Christianity has influenced us so much on how we see him. He's not a bad god. He's not like an evil deity. But I see him portrayed that way in fiction all the time. And that is directly because of Christian influence. Because of that infusion of the belief of pure evil and pure good, right? But pause. I want to see what you commented. Debating on working with a male deity, but I have a hard time letting you enter the right. Girl, I feel you. I feel you on that. So I work very heavily with male deities now, but that was not always the case for me. At all. Like, at all. because it was hard to let that in. You know, toxic masculinity is a real thing. And who wants that in their practice? You know, we aren't necessarily positively influenced by male energy out in the world. And so when you get alone and you are having a spiritual moment and you're casting magic, who wants that? You should have like a reprieve from that. You should be able to celebrate feminine energy, right? And connect with like sacred feminine power because it's so smothered in popular culture. And I get that. I think what changed for me was just me aging and becoming more masculine in my appearance. That made me connect more to masculine energy because I am born male. So I think I just psychologically came to a point where I was like, let me connect to this part of myself instead of pushing it away because it's here. However, I think there are deities that are like more easily accessible than others if you're new to working with gods over goddesses. So like I wouldn't just jump into working with like the Dagda, for example, if you don't work with gods, because he is like a guy, you know what I'm saying? He's that pot-bellied, like loud, like guy. And that can be jarring because you can be like, So I think if I was going to work with a male god and I normally didn't and maybe wanted to avoid overly masculine energy though at the same time, I would work with Apollo. I would work with Ganesha. I would work with Jack in the Green. Is a fantastic one. Those three really jump out at me at this moment as because they're not typical male deities, Apollo especially. But so the same with Jack in the Green. I know some people draw the Jack in the Green as like being the same as Carnanus. I do not personally. I think they're totally separate entities. Jack in the Green, I see him as like very young, very pixie-like. He's more of a plant than human. And he's just very young. He's like very Peter Pan energy. You know what I mean? And I think that's what I'm going at here. Is like, it's the same with Apollo. I feel like Apollo has more of like boy energy than man energy, if that makes sense. And I think that boy energy can be easier to work with than man energy when it comes to gods if you are new to god work. I encourage everyone to go work with gods. I mean, hello, we all love goddesses here. Come on. But working with a god is such a different experience, especially if you're not used to it, especially if you've got issues with men in real life. Working with a god can be hyper transformative. It makes you look at men differently in life now. Like I am way less judgmental on heterosexual white men than I used to be. And that is because of my work with deities that come from like white cultures, quote unquote. Working with people like Odin has made me so much less judgmental on straight white men. So, oh, hello, France. Hello, bonjour. Let's see. I feel like there are shifts happening. Girl, you know how I feel about the Celts. So if you're feeling drawn to it, just jump in. Honestly, jump in. There's no wrong place to start with the Celts. My gateway into the Celts was through Morgan Le Fay and just reading the stories of King Arthur. I loved that. The Vivian, the Lady of the Lake, like, what is it? It's Vivian du Lac or something. Obsessed with Lancelot, all of that. That was my gateway into Celtic mythology because, as we know, the myths of King Arthur are just like fictionized versions of really old Celtic pagan myths. So there's that. But yeah, if you're feeling a shift to that, go for it. And don't feel guilty. I worked exclusively with Morgan Le Fay and Vivian, the Lady of the Lake, for a long time, and no other spirits. And when I started working with other spirits, I felt really, really guilty. Really guilty. But you don't have to. Really, you don't have to. Our paths move us to different places all the time. I know so many people who have started out with like one pantheon and moved on to another. And sometimes they went back to that pantheon. Sometimes they worked with them in tandem. Sometimes they never worked with those gods ever again. That's just the way it is. I think it's much like life, Courtney, where, you meet people and they come and go. Some people aren't forever. I think it's the same with gods. Some gods are not forever. They're just meant to come in and leave. And that's just the way it is. But yeah, the Celts are awesome. Yeah, and your Ogum that you got was amazing. Was that the set where it's like, I think I've seen it before, where each stick is actually of the tree that it's associated with? I think that's the deck you got, right? The set you got, I think. It was beautiful. I love the Mists of Avalon too. I love it so, so much. And it broke my heart when I learned about the writer and her whole like personal life. Broke my heart to know that she was like not necessarily a good person. We'll just say that. That made me so sad. But regardless, the Mists of Avalon is amazing. We are vibing. We are vibing, Courtney. Morgan struggling with the guilt of it. I know, girl, I feel you. I 100% feel you on it. But I know it's so sad. But the book is still amazing. And so is the miniseries. But yeah, you've just got to work past the guilt a little at a time. I get how it is, though. Sometimes I still feel that way. Like, I have a picture of Morgan Le Fay on my altar, and it's been so long since I've worked with her just by herself for more than just like a moment, that sometimes I look at the picture and I'm just like I feel like she's just staring me down, like, but she's not. I don't think so. The gods understand. They understand. But yeah, I get you. Yes, those Ogum staves are awesome. I've seen that set before, or sets like that before. They're so cool. That's awesome. Let's pull another card. Oh, but yes. So actually, if you were going to work with Celtic deity, a god, like a male god, Courtney, but you didn't want to work with someone who's like macho or like, evokes toxic male energies for you. So yes, the Jack in the Green, perfect. However, I would also suggest Ogma, who is, like the god of the Ogum. His appearance, the way I see him, is very like macho, but like in a blubbery way, if you know what I mean. But his energy is not overbearing, and I find him to be a very gentle male deity. So I would suggest Ogma too. Ogma and Jack in the Green and Lou. Lou is like such a joke. He is such a joke. Like, and I can say that because he's right here on my altar. But Lou is, the jack of all trades, master of none. And he does not take himself seriously. And his whole energy is very like trickstery without being like menacing. Do you know what I mean? It's like truly innocent trickster. Like, he's such a joker. Like, he's a great deity to work with too. Yes, girl, Ogum is wild. It's wild. Like, it can be so overwhelming to get into it at first, right? Like, oh my gosh. There's like, how am I supposed to remember that a tally mark means something? It's not as easy as like a full blown picture or like as a rune even, which is so unique from each other. All the Ogum can kind of blur together in your head, and you're like, I don't know. Why are there 5 sideways ones? Like, it's wild. It's wild. But it's fun and rewarding if you stick with it. However, I think you'll find, I don't know if you're pulling from any books or just the internet for learning it, but you will find that like you'll look at 5 different books and get 5 different meanings for each Ogum. Like, it can be maddening to try to figure out like the true meaning behind each Ogum, because each Ogum seems to have like 20 meanings. And sometimes even the tree or the plant that it's associated with can be different depending on what tribe of Celts you're pulling from, you know? Are you pulling from like Irish Ogham? Are we pulling from Scottish Ogham? Are we pulling from Welsh Ogham? Are we pulling from British Ogham? Like English Ogham. Like, it's maddening. But I'm so glad you're on this journey because other people need to find it and they need to go down this road with me because I am alone and I am lost and it is confusing. You know what I mean? Celtic mythology is wild. But welcome to the path. Welcome to the path. Enjoy the journey. Keep your sanity, Courtney. Okay, let's see. Let's pull. See, now you have me on a Celtic kick, and I'll just talk about the Celts forever. Like, forever. But let's see. Oh, Irish. Cool. That's awesome. Obviously, there's so much information there, so that's cool. Let's see. But yeah, Lou is great. Ogma's great. Jack and the Green is great. Let's actually, I'm just going to flip through it, and we're going to purposefully pull out a deity that, oh, look, here's a Celtic deity. So Carnanus. Oh, it's fine. I didn't really have an agenda anyway. I'm just killing time until my friend has to come over to use my computer for printing off of things because I'm the friend with a printer. Like, so, you know, everyone's like, let me use your printer. So Carnanus, again, the artwork in this is so bizarre to me. It seems like artwork that you'd find like in a fantasy novel rather than like a folklore or mythology book, but that's cool. Carnanus, looking very inhuman there. You know, I don't know if it bothers you, but it bothers me that Carnanus, like, we don't know his actual name. Carnanus is a name that the Romans gave to him. It makes me wonder if his like actual Celtic name was just Kern. And you know, there's this character in, I think, Welsh Celtic mythology called Herne, who's very similar to him. So I do wonder if maybe Herne is Kern. You know? I don't know. It's interesting. But it bothers me that we don't know Carnanus' real name. Because it's obviously not Carnunus. That is so Latin. So, yeah. It's probably just Kern. He's probably Herne. I don't know. That's a spiral. I'm spiraling. But he's an interesting deity. I think a lot of us know him too. Like, if you enter this path through Wicca, then you probably learn about Carnunus very early on. Because Carnunus, or the Green Man, is like a very popular deity in Wicca. Very popular. That whole concept of like a nature guy is very popular in that. And, oh, cool. But yes, Carnunus, a deity that has sometimes been equated with Dionysus or Bacchus. Sometimes equated with like hunter gods, farming gods, plant gods. To me, Carnunus is a lot of things. He's kind of like the Mother Earth of the Celts in a way, because he encompasses the physical earth. I think he is a god of nature, like of the earth, of dirt, of stones, of minerals, a god of the elements, a god of animals, of plant life. Sometimes I see his body as being made up of the earth, not flesh. Which is interesting to see the earth in that way, because normally we see the earth as a female, right? Like Danu, or as like Gaia. But to see the earth portrayed as a male energy, that's fascinating. Because the mother analogy is so strong with the earth. It makes sense, right? Because we come from her, we return to her. She gives us food, she takes care of us. Very much like a mother. But to say that that would be like a father, flip that on its head. That's fascinating. I love being in nature. I mean, don't we all, as like pagans or witches or warlocks or whatever we are, shamans, etc. But don't you love it? Don't you love it? Especially if you live in the city. Just getting to go out in nature and like, especially if you can get far enough away that you don't hear any city sounds. It's awesome. It's awesome. It's awesome. Let's see. It is almost 6 o'clock. Okay. Let's see. So, I think we have time. Yeah, for like 2 or 3 card pulls. So, if you are watching and you would like a card pull for yourself, speak up now. And we will pull one. We will do it. We'll continue with this. We'll continue with the Gods and Titans. So again, if you would like a card pull, I will pull one for you right now. Just state in the chat that you would like one. And if you have a question, please type the question. And remember, which you should be seeing it right now, scrolling across the screen. If you go to facebook.com/thenerdywar, you can see all of the readings that I offer. I do rune readings, Ogum readings, oracle readings, tarot readings. You can book one with me. They are $25, and that is for a pre-recorded reading for you, where I will send you a whole written report of what the reading was, pictures of each card, and perhaps a video. However, if you want to pay the $40, that gets you a live reading with me, where we do this 101, not live with people, but just me and you. 101 live. I pull the cards live. And with that reading, you get unlimited pulls. So you get to ask as many questions as you want, pull as many cards as you want from any deck that you want. And that's for like 45 minutes to an hour. Usually, almost always, it's an hour, though. So that's obviously like that's a better choice if you have like a deep question that you want to ask, or if you have multiple questions. I do suggest that reading. However, the $25 readings have become very popular lately because it's like really affordable. And because you can pick from any divination system you want, and I will read it, and I will send you the report, and it is what it is. So, okay, I'm going to shuffle. If you want a card pull, let me know. Otherwise, we're going to pull another card again, and we'll spin off from there. And then I will probably have to go after that, because it is after 6 o'clock here, 6 p.m. Okay. And the sun is finally setting. This whole video, it's been like, let's see. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hope you can. I really do. I hope you can book an Ogum reading with me soon. That would be so fun. That would be so fun to do a reading for you with that. And, normally when I do my Ogum readings for people, I use these staves that I have, these little sticks. But I think if we get to do an Ogum reading, you and I'll probably use my acorn set. I don't know if you've seen that or not, but I have a set they're wooden carved to look like little acorns with the Ogum on them. And they're so cute. So Courtney, are you using the separate set, of Ogum Fuse? The Latin ones, like Phagos, that's a spiral and stuff like that, and Ilion, which is like crossings. Are you using those, or are you just using like the classic normal set of Ogum? Are you omitting those? There's like 4 of them, I think, right? Are you omitting those extra 4, or are you using those? I'm just curious. Yes, I love them. I know a lot of people hate on them, and they're like, if you're reading those, then you're not really practicing Ogham. And I'm like, okay, first off, yes, I am. Secondly, they're in there, so they are Ogham. They are Ogham. Like, just because they came later doesn't invalidate them, That's my opinion. Okay, I'm going to pull a card, and we're going to get random from there. Okay. Aries. We all know Aries, right? All of us. Everybody. Everybody knows Aries. Again, popular deity, but I think a highly misunderstood deity. Okay. Misunderstood. Totally misunderstood. I think some people equate, since he's a god of war, they automatically assume that he's like a god of like anger for some reason. Like, I don't know why we equate war with like anger and like meanness. It's really weird. It's really weird. Again, in my personal experience, I haven't worked with Aries in many, many, many years, but in my experiences with Aries, he's like pretty chill. Like pretty chill. Um and not angry. Now, does he have a little bit of like, is he hot-headed? Maybe. Maybe. But he's like pretty chill. And I think that in a modern context, if you're going to work with a deity of war, when you yourself are probably not a warrior, you're probably not a soldier, you're just a normal civilian. It's fine. If you're going to work with a god of war and you're just a civilian, you're not any kind of like warrior or modern day warrior, I think you got to like be open to interpreting that energy in a totally different way than if you were like a soldier in the army or the military or whatever. Like how do you, and I'm going to tell you how, I'm just posing these questions, but like, how do you infuse a god of war into your daily life? Like, what does that even mean? What kind of mentality is that for you to be a god of war? You know, isn't that bizarre? That's bizarre. Like, how would you interpret that? And again, I don't think it's fair to equate Aries just with the element of fire, just with masculinity, just with anger, with viciousness, with like negative emotions. I've never understood that. I think we as a subculture, we as pagans, as witches, as mystics, as magicians, we need to like rewrite how, not rewrite, we need to expand our definitions of what it means to work with a god or goddess of war, and allow them to be more than what we think they are. I think that's probably true for all of the gods that we work with. We want to pigeonhole them with what we read in a book. Like, you must be this way. And I don't think that's fair. And I think that parlays into real life. Like, when you meet a person, you know, you have these preconceived notions before you meet them, or maybe as soon as you meet them, you know, you size them up and you have ideas about them. And I don't think that's fair. Sometimes that's helpful, but I don't think it's fair to just say, this is what you are and this is all you will ever be. That's not fair. That's not fair. Expand your definitions of gods, especially gods of war. Anywho, I must be going now. It is after 6. Again, I encourage you to check out my Facebook page. Go give it a follow. Go give it a like. And shoot me a message over there if you want to book a reading. But go look at the readings I offer. Go look at my posts on there. Look through my videos here on YouTube. I put out a video today, which was a part 2 to a video I put out yesterday about reading from this book called Merlin, Master of Magic. And this book is maddening. That's all we'll say. So thank you so much for watching. I cannot wait to go dig into Hypnos. And I hope you all have a really good night or day or wherever it is, whenever you're watching this. Thank you so much, and goodbye.